Hey, what's going on, people, and welcome to another episode of Riley Sports Talk. It's getting to the end of the season. There's only 3 games left in the entire NFL season. But 2 of those games come this weekend, the conference championship games. And the one we're going to talk about right now is the Packers versus the Bucs. This should be a beauty. It should be a beauty as far as the stats are concerned, as far as the players that are involved. So let's get right into it. What's at stake? A trip to Super Bowl 55, or in Roman numerals, LV. As you can see, this is the Hallis Trophy. It goes to the winner of whoever wins the NFC Championship game. Remember, back in the day, the NFL and the AFL were 2 separate conferences or separate leagues, so that's where the Hallis Trophy comes from. So that's what's at stake, the grand prize of them all in professional football, getting to the Super Bowl. That is what you want. At least you have a chance. So let's get into our next slide real quickly. And as always, you know what to do. Do me a favor, subscribe, like, and share button for Riley's Talk. Legends. I'm quite sure by now, if you haven't heard it, it's Rodgers versus Brady. These boys are legends. Let's just call it what it is. So 5 MVPs right now. Brady has 3 with Rodgers 2. But right now, I think we all are, for the most part, accepting that Rodgers should win his 3rd one. 7 titles between the both of them. Now, of course, that's skewed a lot of bit, to Tom Brady's side with his 6 plus Rodgers 1. But understand that Tom Brady had 3 before Rodgers ever took his first official start. Remember, Rodgers replaced another legend in his own right, and that's Brett Favre. So these boys are legends. I mean, we'll be all day discussing the stats, the this, that, and the other. It is a legendary game. Rodgers is playing more so for his legacy. I think, in my opinion, he needs another ring before we talk about super duper legacy. Tom Brady, on the other hand, of course, we know what he did in New England. If he was to pull one off with Tampa Bay, especially after the year they had last year, I'm not a Tom Brady fan. I'm not. I'm a Tom Brady hater. But if he was to pull off one with Tampa Bay, Tom will be the man of mans. So, the teams, where we stand. The Packers, winners of the NFC North, number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs. They came into the playoffs with a 13-3 regular season record, and they are coming off a 38-18 victory over the Rams. That game wasn't really as close as the score showed. It was kind of a quasi blowout, but the Packers were really never threatened. The Bucs, 2nd in the NFC South. Now, they came in as the number 5 seed because of the way the NFL structures its playoffs. So 11-5 regular season record. Now, remember, going into the last week of the season, I think they were actually still in the running for number 1 seed. They have 2 playoff victories. Remember, they didn't get the bye this year. So it was a kind of a haphazard-ass 31-23 win over Washington. But they had a very good 30-20 win over the Saints. Both of those victories are on the road. Now, remember, it's not easy to win on the road in the NFL or any sport. So, the Bucs, they deserve to be here. The Packers, they deserve to be here. Neither one of these teams are here by luck. This is a rematch. Remember, week 6, as you can see, the Packers at the time were 4-1, coming off a bye week. Tampa Bay was 4-2. They hadn't gotten into that bye week. Now, look at these numbers here. The Packers took a 10-0 lead, but the Bucs exploded in the 4th quarter with 28 points. They went into halftime leading at 28-10. 3rd quarter, they got another 10 points. In the 4th quarter, pretty much, the game was out of reach. So we had a blowout, and I remember watching this game. That was surprising to me. But when you look a little bit deeper into the stats, it's not going to be as surprising as you think it is. So let's go into our next slide. Let's talk about that particular game, week 6. Look up here. Green Bay had 6 penalties for 76 yards. But at the same time, the Bucs had none. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't do the conspiracy theory thing. But I'm pretty sure your conspiracy theories are going to come out and say that's the Tom Brady effect. How does the Bucs go through an entire NFL game? And I don't know if that was a primetime game or it was definitely a late afternoon game, but you had no penalties, none, zero, zilch, nothing, but they didn't. So those penalties came back and hurt Green Bay. On top of that, Green Bay had 2 turnovers. The Bucs again had none. But here's the problem. The Bucs having none is not unsuspected. But Rodgers has only thrown 3 pick sixes in his entire career. And guess when one of those came? That particular game. He threw a pick 6, and on top of that, he threw another interception that the Bucs ran back inside of the Packers 5. So pretty much on 2 pick sixes, that was a 14-point swing going on right there. So Rodgers does not throw a lot of interceptions, but in week 6, the Bucs made him throw a few. On top of that, the Bucs had 3 first down from those 6 penalties in that game. That's equal to 5 extra possessions. Now, I understand in football, each team get a possession over and over, but when you look a little bit deeper into the game, if you get a first down, let's just say it's 3rd and 3, that's an extra possession. That's an extra possession if you get 3rd and 15, what have you. Any 3rd down is an extra possession, but it hurts even worse when those extra possessions come according to penalties. So the penalties and the turnovers killed the Packers in that particular game in week 6. So let's compare and contrast the turnovers between that game and the regular season. The Bucs in the regular season, they were number 6 in the league in turnover margin at +8. Basically, they caused 8 more turnovers than they committed themselves. That's a pretty good margin, especially at number 6 in the league. On top of that, remember I mentioned Rodgers, he had 2 interceptions. The Bucs do a pretty good job at intercepting the ball with 15 interceptions. They are tied with numerous teams. I think it was about 4 or 5 teams that they were tied at number 7 with. If they just get one extra interception, they go all the way up to like number 4 or 5 in the interception department. But check this out right here. The Packers were they had the least amount of turnovers in the NFL with 11. Aaron Rodgers only threw 5 interceptions all year. I think he had 40 some odd touchdowns, 48 I think. He only threw 5 interceptions, so that automatically tells you they had 6 fumbles. They had less than 1 turnover per game. That is a damn good way to keep the football away from the other team, but they did not do that in week 6. Next slide. Penalties. Shouldn't have wrote this both at the same time, but both teams have 84 penalties total for the entire regular season. That is tied at 21st fewest penalties in the league. That basically tells you that both of these teams do a great job of not beating themselves. They don't turn the ball over a lot. They don't just beat themselves with pass interference, what have you, especially on the penalty side of the house. Now, let's get into some pure stats, especially offense. Packers, 5th in the league in team offense. You would think they'll be a little bit higher, but they're about 5th. It's about 5th with Aaron Rodgers. Believe it or not, Aaron Rodgers did not he threw for a decent amount of yards, but it wasn't what you expected with the amount of touchdowns he threw for, because a lot of those touchdowns came in the red zone. The Packers are also 8th in rushing offense. This is an underrated stat with the Packers. A lot of people always think Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Scantling, what have you. But Aaron Jones is a really, really good running back. I didn't look up where he's at going into the playoffs, but a few weeks ago, he was number 4 in the league with about 1,100 yards in rushing offense. Aaron Jones is highly underrated, and the Packers' run game is highly underrated. The Packers are 9th in the league in passing offense. Again, this goes back into, when I do my passing offense, that goes into the total amount of offensive pass yards you get per game. Not touchdowns, not anything else. So that goes back to what I said earlier, that Rodgers and a lot of their touchdown passes are within the red zone. I mean, they have a significant amount within the 5-yard line. I've seen at least 4 or 5 myself go to Adams just on 3rd and 2 from the 1. So they're 9th in passing offense. Let's get to the Bucs. Bucs aren't shabby they damn selves on offense. 7th in team offense. Now, this stat here, I want you to remember this for a later slide. The Bucs are 28th in rush offense. That is damn near at the bottom of the league. Only 32 teams in the league. So, I think Fournette and Jones, they are just not carrying the load like you think they have. But at the same time, they carry it more than you think. Bucs, second in passing offense. And that goes into this right here. Both teams have top-notch receiving cores. The Bucs got some ballers. Keep in mind with the Bucs last year, Jameis Winston threw for 5,100 yards, but he also threw 30 interceptions. But they have a tremendous receiving core. Wallace is genuinely one of the best receivers in the league, and Godwin is a great backup. I'm not a backup to Wallace in that sense, but if Wallace is not having a good game, guess what? Godwin can as well. On top of that, you have the old trusty veteran in Rob Gronkowski. Of course, Brady trusts him at all facets of the game from their days in New England. So both teams have top-notch receiving core. You can expect kind of a shootout in this game because of the receiving. Doesn't matter what the weather is, although I think the weather is supposed to be about 28, 29 degrees with a few snow flurries and something like that. But expect some passing in this game, definitely. Let's talk about the defenses here. Bucs, 6 in total defense. Again, they're not shabby on the defense or offensive side of the ball, but this right here is key. They are the #1 rushing defense in the entire NFL. They do not let you run the ball against them. And I told you earlier that Aaron Jones, he can run a little bit. So if they stop Aaron Jones, the Packers are, or they might be in trouble. This is another key stat here. Now, compare and contrast that with, I think what I told you, that was the 9th passing offense that the Packers had. Well, these guys, the Bucs, are 21st in passing defense. That means that they give up some passing yardage. We're not going to get into the touchdown aspect of it, but they give up some passing yardage, and that's not a good thing against an Aaron Rodgers and his top-notch receiving core. So the Packers, 9th in total defense. Again, look at this, 9th and 6th. As much as we all expect offensive fireworks, this game could easily be a defensive struggle. I don't see that, but it wouldn't surprise me if it happened. So, 13th in rushing defense are the Packers, and 7th in passing defense. The Packers do a damn good job themselves on defense, and unlike the Bucs, they're not sitting there very high in the 20s on any particular defensive category. Next slide. Here's your game. Here is your football game. As I said, here's your football game and some questions. Was this just a bad day for the Packers, or is this just how Tampa plays? And can the Packers reduce the turnovers, and can the Bucs run the ball when needed? I just kind of alluded to that. Jones and Fournette, they may not be the greatest 1-2 combination in the league, but they do just enough. That first down here, that pass out the backfield there, they do just enough to keep you honest and let Tampa Bay throw the ball all over the field. Keys to victory. Tampa Bay, establish a running game. It doesn't matter how little it is. Again, I just kind of alluded to that. Tampa, turnovers are a part of why you're here. You're going to have to force them. Now, this is me. This is me just talking my own football knowledge. I am not a fan of when a team is depending upon turnovers to win them the game. Yes, turnovers happen. It's a part of the game. Same thing with special teams. A blocked punt or a kickoff or punt return, they happens. But if you put that inside of your keys to victory or ways to win a game, you've already lost, or at worst case scenario, you started the game from behind. Green Bay, you need to protect the football unlike that first game. It wasn't any fumbles, but you had 2 interceptions. As you can see, this is what the Bucs do. They don't beat themselves a lot. You both don't have a lot of penalties. So obviously you don't beat yourself. But in that first game, Green Bay, you beat yourself. And as I have already said right here, don't beat yourself. Those penalties, those turnovers, that is what lost you the game in week 6. Gambling. I didn't put it up here, but as always, I get my numbers from Rivers Casino. Now, these lines may change whenever you see this video, especially before kickoff on Sunday. So let's get into the spread, which is up here. The Packers are favored to win this game by 3 points. So if you are betting on the Packers, you really need them to win by 4 points. Because if they win by 3, that's a push, which is a fancy word for a tie. The Bucs. If you're taking the Bucs on the spread, basically again, if the Bucs lose by 3, you will have a push. The Bucs need to lose by 4 or more. We're going to get down into the money line. The Packers, -175. You need to put up $175 just to win 100 if you take the Packers on the money line, or what I like to call straight up. But that's the reverse kind of with the Bucs. You put up 100, you win your 100 back if the Bucs win the game outright. You're not taking a spread. You're not just saying, I think the Bucs is going to win. So you put up 100, you win your 100 back, plus an extra $150. You walk away with $250. Not a bad day. The over-under, that's the amount of points total scored between both teams, 51. This game right here, in my opinion, should definitely go over 51. But if you want to take the under, I'm not going to knock you, especially because of the weather. But this is a good over-under in my opinion. Predictions. Expect some point swings. Expect a situation of somebody goes up 10-0 or 13-0 and the other team comes back with 2 touchdowns, or they go up 20-13. Expect that one. Expect it, because there's too much offensive firepower on the field tonight, on Sunday night. Secondly, even with the weather, both teams' passing games will click unless it's a blizzard, unless it's just an extremely bad weather game. Final score, Packers 41-28. Now, let me explain how I came to the Packers winning this game in that score. The Packers in that first game, they beat themselves. They are one of the best teams in the league at avoiding penalties. They are one of the best teams in the league at almost numerous stats. They don't turn the ball over, 11 for the entire season. Aaron Rodgers not only does not throw picks, he's had 3 picks for his, excuse me guys. Sorry about that. Final score, Packers 41-28. Back to what I said. Rodgers, he does not throw pick sixes. 3 for his entire year. When did Rodgers take over the start position? Back in 2007, 2008, and 3 in 13 years. That's not bad. That is not bad. So the Packers beat themselves, but lately the Packers have been clicking. And on top of it, I predicted this earlier, or I said this earlier, I am not a fan of how Tampa Bay relies on turnovers to win the game. You take them if they come. You take them. You take a pick six, you take a punt return, you take a fumble, you take a lot of those things, but those things are predicated on luck more than skill. So again, final score, Packers 41, Tampa Bay 28. Definitely over, take the over if I were you. That's just me. So as always, thank you for tuning in. I'm sorry about the little mix up earlier. Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe, like, and share, and you all have a great day.